Hey, what's going on, everybody? Newick here, and today I want to talk about EA and Battlefield. As you know, DICE develops Battlefield, and Battlefield is EA's flagship game. But I want to talk about if EA is abusing Battlefield and possibly DICE. I don't think they're really abusing them, but they might be taking advantage of it. Uh, and I have a couple of points for that, and some of them, they're all pretty good points, but you might disagree. And if you have any comments that you want to make, just leave them down in the comments. That's what they're for. Or if you have any other ideas or what you think about EA and Battlefield and the relationship that they have. So with the recent announcement of Battlefield Hardline, it just makes you think, because Battlefield 4 hasn't been out that long. It's been out for like a year. It released in October of this year. It was one of the game's launch titles for the Xbox One and the PS4, for the next generation. So it's only been out for like a year. Coming up in October. It's gonna be its 1 year birthday or something. I just find it really surprising that they would put out another Battlefield game within the year. I mean, it doesn't make sense because that's not how Battlefield usually works. They usually wait 2 or 3 years before releasing a game. I started playing Battlefield series in Bad Company 2. So Bad Company 2 launched, and then about 2 years later they had Battlefield 3, and then 2 years later you got Battlefield 4. Why this break, or this such a short period of time between these launches? I mean, I guess you could say that, well, you got Visceral Games developing it and not DICE, but still, it's such a short period of time. It's like you would want to concentrate on Battlefield 4 for these 2 years and make it with the best possible game as the best possible game, because it had all the bugs and the glitches and stuff. There's a lot to fix with that game already. Why do you need to push another one out? I find it conflicting views with EA and Battlefield right now, because I don't think there should be another game coming out so soon, and especially a game that's not in the core gameplay. Hardline is cops and robbers, and because it's cops and robbers, it has an identity crisis. It's trying to be a cops and robbers game, but yet it's still trying to be Battlefield, which is like an army game, but it's still trying to be cops and robbers. It's those two don't really mix very well, and I just feel like it's not gonna work. Like, it looks cool now, but is it gonna be able to sustain itself? Like with Titanfall, everybody thought Titanfall was gonna be great, and we all got it. We played it for 2 weeks and shoved it aside again. I mean, it was a great game, fantastic game. Really liked it when I played it, but it just didn't hold on. It just didn't hold my attention, and I feel that's what Battlefield Hardline is going to be too. It's going to be a cool, fun new experience to I don't know, distract ourselves from Battlefield 4. But once we get bored of Battlefield Hardline, we're going to go straight back to 4. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I feel like it's going to happen, because it's basically just it's an expansion of Battlefield 4. I would like to compare Battlefield Hardline to the Bad Company 2 Vietnam expansion pack, which these two games kind of seem like the same thing. Why do you need to put out a new title when it could just be a larger expansion pack like Vietnam? Because Vietnam, I had new weapons, new maps, new skins, new everything. It could have been a completely separate game itself, but it wasn't, because I don't know. I actually don't know why it wasn't a completely different game, but it could have been. I think they just did that because you had the Vietnam, that Vietnam fad. So that's kind of why they did it, and it worked well as an expansion pack. And that's what I feel like Battlefield Hardline is. Battlefield Hardline is a fad of cops and robbers. It's kind of it's working off the heels of Payday and Payday 2. I think EA saw the success of that, and they thought to themselves that we could do better, and we could use Battlefield and that name to drive sales. And Battlefield 4 currently is sitting at about almost 10 million units sold worldwide on all platforms. And I can see why EA would want to use Battlefield to get every penny out of it. I mean, Battlefield is a successful name. It's got a reputation for being quality, large scale combat, and being the main competitor to Call of Duty. But this is just a fad, and it shouldn't be a completely separate game. It should be an expansion pack like Vietnam. I think because if you make it in an expansion pack, it will last longer because it's always with Battlefield 4, and those two games are going to be very similar because they're going to be running off of the same engine. At least I think so. There's going to be a couple different mechanics and probably a few more fixes in the engine than Battlefield 4 has right now, because of the Visceral saw, or they probably have seen the problems with Battlefield 4, and they're fixing it within the engine. And there's probably gonna be some improvements, but I'm seeing some people say that Battlefield 4 is still plagued by the same problems, or Battlefield Hardline is still plagued by the same problems as Battlefield 4. So there's really no new improvements there. And I want to change gears here and talk about Visceral Games. Visceral Games developed Dead Space, and I like Dead Space. I liked it a lot. I like Dead Space 1. I like Dead Space 2. Not the biggest fan of Dead Space 3, and I think because of Dead Space 3, that's why EA wanted Visceral Games to develop this next Battlefield game. Because if we all remember, Dead Space 3 wasn't a remarkable hit as 1 and 2. It was more action orientated, not so much on the horror, which it's based off of, which is really dumb. I don't know who pushed that. I don't know if it was developers' idea or if it was EA's idea to make it more action oriented. But it was a really dumb decision any way it goes. They should have kept horror in it. A lot more horror. I did an entire playthrough. I wasn't that scared, and I feel like I should have been. I was kind of disappointed. But going on, so speaking of Dead Space 3, and Visceral Games, it makes me question why EA picked them to develop this game. Is it for them to redeem themselves, or is it to give the Dead Space series a break? Because if they're developing Battlefield Hardline, who's developing the next Dead Space game? Is Visceral Games gonna, I don't know what Dead Space, what lies ahead for Dead Space now, because they're gonna have to support Hardline, or if they're gonna transfer it over to DICE and have DICE support Hardline after, and they can start developing Dead Space again. I don't know, but it definitely brings up some more questions of the EA series, or their games. I'm trying to think where else. I'm trying to think of what else I'm trying to do. Oh, that's right. Visceral Games, they are not a first-person shooter company. You know, they're third-person action horror. So this is a real challenge for them, and to make a AAA first-person shooter title, and it's a little easier for them because they're taking the template of Battlefield. You know, it's easier to take the mechanics. You know, they don't have to create their own game. They can just kind of copy and paste almost, and all they have to really do is make a few minor adjustments. You know, create the new maps, and that's really it. And that's also another reason why it should be an expansion pack, because there's not a whole lot of change going on, even though it might feel like a lot of change. Underneath, mechanically, it's probably not a lot of change as long as the engine is not updated. But, you know, you can fix bugs and stuff, but that can all be done in an update. It just doesn't really make sense why they're doing another full game. Maybe it's not going to be a full game. Maybe it's only going to be $40. Who knows? If it was $40, I'd buy it. But at this point, I'm not really sold on it yet, because I don't trust Visceral Games with a Battlefield game. Because, you know, that's not their forte. They're good. They are good at horror games, not first-person shooter games. And here's another question. Is this what we really want? Do we want another Battlefield game within the year? Within the year. Battlefield 4 has not been out for a year, and we're already getting another game. I don't want this. I never asked for it. I never thought about it. I've been completely content with Battlefield 4 right now. You know, I would like to see a bunch of changes in Battlefield 4, like netcode and, you know, other shit that I can't think of right now. You know, there's a whole bunch of crap in that game that needs to be fixed, and I would like to see that get fixed rather than getting a new game. But EA, to kind of go back to another point, is trying to squeeze out every single penny of this Battlefield series. You know, because, you know, it's a very successful title, but we don't need it. I don't need it. I don't really want it. But, you know, they're gonna make it and put it out anyways, and people are probably gonna buy it because it just has the Battlefield name in it. If you can tell, this is a topic that I'm kind of like concerned about, because what does this hold for the future of Battlefield? Like, is it going to become an annual game now? Is this going to be like an Infinity Treyarch thing? You know, like if DICE develops the Battlefield games and then Visceral develops the offshoot games. Well, what's going on there? Alright, that's going to wrap it up for this topic. If you guys got anything to say, just leave your thoughts down in the comment section, and I'll see you guys later.